The desert air was dry, but it wasn't the kind that cracked lips. It was the kind that silenced noise. It swept over the dunes like an invisible hand, removing every distraction until only the truth remained. Aditya sat alone on a large flat rock, staring out at the endless sand. Once he had been a man the world clapped for. A tech entrepreneur with millions in funding, interviews on glossy covers, and hundreds of thousands of followers who adored his ideas. But that was 2 years ago. Now he was broke, betrayed, and bitter. His app had failed. Investors pulled out. His best friend and co-founder had stolen the remaining funds and vanished. News articles called him a fallen visionary. Comments mocked his TED Talks. People who once begged for selfies now crossed the street to avoid eye contact. So he did what few expected. He vanished too. Left the city. Left his apartment. Left the noise. And found himself in the middle of nowhere. Jaisalmer Desert, where he had rented a small mud hut from an old, toothless man who barely spoke but somehow understood everything. For weeks, Aditya said nothing. He simply wandered, stared, thought. But the thoughts didn't help. They were loud, cruel, endless. You're nothing now. You were a fraud all along. No one cares. One morning, as he poured water into a tin mug, he heard footsteps behind him. He turned. An old monk stood there. Skin like folded parchment, eyes like deep wells. He wore no shoes. Just a white cotton robe and a string of beads. Your mind is too loud, the monk said. Aditya stared, stunned. Who are you? He finally asked. Someone who lives near the silence you've been searching for. I didn't ask for help. No, the monk said. But your soul did. Aditya scoffed and turned away. Look, I don't need a lecture on peace. I've read all the books. And yet you are still broken. Aditya froze. Why are you here? He asked, not looking back. To ask you a question, the monk said. Aditya said nothing. The monk walked to the edge of the nearby dune and pointed at the sand. Do you see that camel footprint? Aditya nodded. Does it hurt the sand? What? Aditya asked with a furious voice. Does the footprint hurt the sand? No, it's just a mark. And what happens to the mark when the wind blows? Disappears. The monk turned and looked at him. So why do you let the footprints of your past define the land of your mind? Aditya was quiet. The monk sat beside him. What you built was not your failure. Your attachment to it was. Aditya clenched his jaw. I worked for 10 years. Day and night. I sacrificed everything. For what? To be humiliated. Mocked. No. The monk said. To be stripped. Aditya blinked. You were clothed in identity. The monk said softly. Founder, visionary, genius. But those are not who you are. They're costumes. Now that they've been taken, you can finally meet your naked self. I don't want to meet him, Aditya muttered. Tease, weak. No, the monk said, with unexpected steel in his voice. He is real, and only real men rise again. Aditya looked away, overwhelmed. The monk stood and picked up a small, cracked clay pot sitting nearby. He held it up to the sun. You see this? Aditya nodded. Would you drink from it? I guess, even though it's cracked. If it holds water, sure. The monk smiled. Then why do you think you need to be flawless to be valuable? That hit Aditya like a slap. He sat down heavily. I thought I had to be perfect. Or at least appear that way. Perfection is a lie sold by frightened people, the monk said. Real growth is messy, cracked raw. Like this pot. Like you. Silence. Then the monk did something strange. He poured water into the cracked pot. It began to drip slowly from the crack. You see, the monk whispered, even what leaks nourishes. Aditya looked at the wet spot in the sand, darkening as the water seeped in. "There's a plant beneath this ground," the monk said. "It hasn't sprouted yet, but it will. Because of this water, because of this crack." He handed the pot to Aditya. "Stop hiding your damage," the monk said. "Use it, share it. Let others drink from your story." Aditya held the pot tightly. That night, he didn't sleep. He sat under the stars, cracked pot beside him, thinking about everything he had never allowed himself to feel: the betrayal, the fear, the shame. He wept, not quietly, but like a dam had burst. And in the crying, something softened. A seed stirred. In the weeks that followed, Aditya didn't return to the city. Not yet. Instead, he began writing, not a pitch deck, not an article, but a journal. Honest, unfiltered. Broken thoughts from a broken man with a cracked clay pot beside him. He shared a piece online. Just one. It went viral. Not because it was impressive, but because it was true. Messages flooded in. Thousands of people who had failed, fallen, and felt alone. They thanked him for saying what they couldn't. And for the first time, Aditya realized something that changed everything. Success inspires, but failure connects. The next month, he launched a project called Cracked, a platform for stories of failure, healing, and growth. No ads, no filters, just truth. It grew slowly, organically, authentically, and Aditya smiled more. Not because he had built something again, but because he had become someone again. Someone real. The monk never returned. But every morning, Aditya placed the cracked pot on the window ledge, filled it with water, and watched as it dripped gently onto the desert floor. Because he finally understood. The cracks were never the problem. They were the path. Sometimes life breaks us to show us who we truly are. Aditya lost everything. The applause, the titles, the admiration, and in that silence, he found the truth waiting beneath the noise. In the desert, with only his thoughts and a cracked pot, he learned that our failures are not flaws to hide. They are openings. Every crack we carry lets our realness seep out, nourishing not just our own growth, but someone else's hope. It is not perfection that connects us, but honesty. The footprints of our past fade with time, but the lessons linger. You are more than what you've lost. You are every seed that breaks open and grows in the light that leaks through your scars. Don't hide your cracks. Let them water the world. The path forward begins when you embrace who you are, cracked, raw, and real. Because your story, imperfect as it is exactly what someone else needs to begin again. Consider Thomas Edison, who failed thousands of times before inventing the light bulb. When asked about his failures, he said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." Edison's cracks didn't define his journey, they illuminated it. Stephen King's first novel was rejected 30 times, nearly leading him to quit. Yet, because he persisted, Carrie became a bestseller. A reminder that what leaks from our cracks can become someone else's life raft. Michael Jordan, one of the greatest athletes, admitted, "I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career, and that is why I succeed." He learned that success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts. J.K. Rowling. Once jobless and rejected by publishers, let her vulnerability fuel the birth of Harry Potter. Rock bottom became the solid foundation on which I rebuilt my life. Mistakes are the portals of discovery. Failure is success if we learn from it. Perfectionism hampers success. It's the path to depression, anxiety, addiction, and life paralysis. You're imperfect, and you're wired for struggle, but you are worthy of love and belonging. Imperfections are not inadequacies. They are reminders that we're all in this together. And beyond famous figures, everyday people, like Bethany Hamilton, who returned to professional surfing after a shark attack, prove that cracks don't end our stories. They shape the chapters that matter most. So let Aditya's realization echo. Don't just accept your failures, embrace them. Share the healing water that seeps through your cracks. Your authenticity and imperfection can nourish a future beyond what you once thought possible. Step away from the need to appear flawless. That's not where connection is born. The cracks are never the problem. They are the path.